the life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. Gotta get your arms way up in a cage and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loomis trying to bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it a whirl. Hello, welcome to my world.
What's going on, all you Facebook Live and YouTube Live fishing freaks? 2 weeks. You've not seen our ugly mugs in 2 solid weeks. Hope you guys have.
You guys did it. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, hope you guys had an awesome Christmas, New Year. Got to reset, do the family thing. Got a new thing coming out here for the show. First off, I've invited a good buddy of mine who is also a YouTuber, Ben Nowak. He's from Michigan. Excuse me. He does a lot of fishing up around St. Clair and up around that way. But I have a new idea for the show that I think it's going to make it a little bit more interesting as we go forward, because JR and I have always talked about, like, there's only so many topics that you can talk about, and there's only so many topics that you can think of if you are a content creator like we are here. And, things that matter to us may not matter to you. And coming up with topics every week is almost at the point of becoming impossible, because there's so many and there's so much that we talk about, and like there's literally only so many topics that are out there in bass fishing. And although I don't think we've covered everything, I believe we have touched on a lot of things. Now, with that being said, I was looking at a way to try to create more dynamic content for these live shows, because I'm not going to lie to you here, it gets very monotonous on our end, because it seems like we talk about the same stuff every week, all the time. And I thought, why not use my technology background to help us out? So I've actually written a program that actually uses Google Trends, which, by the way, if you don't know what Google Trends is, basically, Google owns a lot of things. They own YouTube, they own a pile of different things. But what happens is, they have it's kind of like an offshoot website of Google, but it's called Google Trends. And it basically shows you the topics that people are searching for on their search engine based on keywords. So I was thinking to myself, what would make it more dynamic here for us to talk about and have a little bit more fun talking about with you guys, and being able to bring other folks into the show. Again, for example, Ben, if he hops on here in just a little bit, I'm not sure if he's going to make it or not. He's going to try. But if he does, it's going to be great. But I'd like to get you guys involved. I'd also like to get some other people involved. I've reached out to Matt Robertson. Maybe we can get people like Chris Malone, Whitney Stevens. I would like to have, there's an opportunity here to have 5 to 10 people on here at a time. But this program actually uses Google Trends, and I have it set up to query the database of Google Trends and look for the top 20 topics that have been searched based in and around bass fishing. Now, what's that mean? Well, this is everybody in the world that has searched anything that has anything to do, loosely or directly related to bass fishing. So the great thing about this is, in just a minute when we fire this thing up, I'm sure you guys have probably all seen the sports show, Pardon the Interruption. Part of the interruption is where they have a host and they give them topics, and then everybody gets like a minute to give their own little spiel about that topic. They earn points and things on that show. We're here now. We're not here trying to say my opinion is better than JR's or Ben's or what have you. We're just trying to keep a little bit more, a little bit more dynamic content. So what's going to happen is, here in just a minute, I'm going to throw this up on the screen here in just a minute, and you guys will see the topics when we do. We haven't seen these things yet, so it's going to kind of be one of those things where some of these topics we may not have a clue about because they may be new techniques, or maybe they're a younger kid searching for certain things. There's going to be times where things overlap because, again, Google Trends looks at the top search keywords and things for that. And I've set this application up to do this week. So basically what will happen is that it goes out and looks at Google Trends and looks for the last week. What are the top 20 most searched keywords or most searched phrases based on bass fishing? And I've written in that program to give us a minute apiece. You get a minute to give a spiel. The next person goes on a minute. The next person goes on a minute. And then once everybody goes through this, kind of their turn, we then jump back to topic number 2 or 3 or wherever we're at. So, Gerald, are you really excited about this? Because I'm pumped.
Man, I hope it's fun. It sounds fun. I just hope people participate. We got 16 people watching right now. Glad to have you guys back. And, this is kind of just a big way to get more people involved and have more fun with it. I mean, I think if we're having more fun, you guys are probably having more fun, I hope. But let's do it.
All right. So here's the program you guys can see here on the screen. It generated the very first topic for us right now. The very first one says Mastering Winter Bass Fishing Top Techniques for December. The explanation here says explore effective strategies for bass fishing during the colder months, including deep water tactics and slow presentations. The trending score there is 85%. So, JR, you're in the clock.
So does that mean 85% of people are searching this right now?
That's the saying that this is of the top 20 that generated 85. This scores 85% out of 100.
Yeah. Dang, dude. I guess everybody is looking at it right now. So winter bass fishing, brutal time, but the best time to catch a big one, so to speak. There are some big lakes around our area that aren't too far away. Going down to Dale Hollow, going down to Cumberland is something I definitely want to do when it's cold. Synonymous with cold water fishing, jerkbait fishing with slower kind of jerks, pauses in between. I think about A-rigs. I think about metal baits like silver buddies, main leg, deep water. And I think we have to say it's a time to scope too and learn how to scope. That's what I want to do.
Yep. So much like JR said there, wintertime bass fishing for me, especially in December and January, where we're at right now, becomes very methodic. I'm going to be putting 4 or 5 baits in my hand and locking them in. As JR mentioned, jerk bait is going to be one of those. Definitely Shimano Inverno. I don't throw a blade bait that much. If I'm throwing a blade bait, it's going to be something like I would throw a spinner bait or something like that. I did put my very first fish in the boat the other day on a scoping minnow. But the craziest thing about it was I really wasn't scoping. I was scoping for crappie. Ended up finding a bass that was on the bottom, but it was just by happenstance. I just drug it by this thing. Bass come up, nailed it. 14-inch bass, number 1. Definitely going to be low and slow, as deep as I can get in the channels. That's going to be what I'm going to be doing for mastering wintertime bass fishing for December. That's where I'll be heading. All right, so that was pretty cool. Not too bad there. So again, you can see here we have 1 of 19. By the way, guys, if you guys are just now joining us, we have a new thing here we're trying with our deal here. I've written a program to check out Google Trends and give us the top 20 topics that have been searched the past week. We get a minute to talk about it each. I do have a couple people coming on, hopefully tonight. One of them, Ben Nowak, will be hopping on. And if not, we will get some more people on. And again, this is not about being a pro fisherman. If you would like to be a part of the show and talk fishing like this, just random topics, by all means, let me know. We'll have you on next week. Next topic, JR. Essential gear for December bass fishing. Stay warm and catch more. A guide to the best clothing and equipment to keep you comfortable and successful while fishing in December. You're up.
Yeah, man. These are interesting topics actually. So, to me, I got Striker gear last year. I really like their stuff. It is super warm. It's kind of a sad thing, but I feel like you have to have multiple setups for um, when it's this cold. You kind of have to have your man, it's really freaking cold set up, and then you need to have a regular. For me, the Striker setup that I have, I got a really good deal on it, and it basically, when it is freezing out, I am, warm, sweating normally. So, a good pair of gloves, a good jacket, bibs. Whew. The sneeze took the last 5 seconds there.
Blame it on the sneeze.
Oh yeah. I just did straight clothing on that one.
Yep. So essential gear for December bass fishing. As Jared mentioned, I believe that he's 100% correct. You need a couple of different sets of gear. This year I've really fallen in love with Gill. I have a Meridian X rain suit that I wear 90% of the time. Gill makes a Meridian hoodie that's really good. If you haven't hopped on that trend, the Gator style hoodie, it's a really good one. You obviously have the AFCO Reaper falls in there too. But if it's super, 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 super cold, where I feel like I'm going to get super cold with my Gill gear, which is it's insulated, it keeps the wind off from me, and you wouldn't believe how much that keeps you warm. But if it's super cold, JR mentioned the Striker gear. It's funny because Striker is actually a company, but I wear Stormer gear if it gets super, super cold, and the series of Stormer that I use is actually called Striker, STRYKR. So. Good pair of gloves, couple of suits.
A lot of my buddies really like the Sitka stuff too. Tennessee Bassmaster. Speaking of Tennessee Bassmaster, the Classic is in Tennessee this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. I really want to go. Sorry, tangent.
No, it's good. Though I think that those are, if you've never been to a Bassmaster Classic, you should definitely go. It's not like it used to be 15 years ago, man. 15 years ago, you could go to the expo and just get like all kind of stuff like free, and like the new baits were coming out, and like towels and T-shirts, and it was just an absurd amount of stuff. I went the very first year and got, and now I'm sure it's because of the price of things, and you see a lot of cool stuff, but the Classic Expo is definitely worth seeing for sure.
Yeah. I'd like to try some of that Sitka stuff. I tried to get on that sale that they had, but I think it was like all sold out from where they had a really good sale around Christmas. But anywho.
Yeah, I mean, Sitka, isn't it very expensive though?
I think their stuff's really expensive. Yeah, that's why I was like, well, I want to try it when it's on sale, but I just never have. But it's a big hunting company. It's like KUIU and Sitka. Those are kind of some of the big names in hunting, and my understanding. And 400 jacket for 150. Yeah, so they said that was like the good deal around Christmas. My brother-in-law was said he bought, I don't know how much worth of it, but got a really good deal on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. But here's the thing. When it comes to essential gear and stuff like this, it's like, I don't know, man. I know it seems like a lot of money. Like, for example, the Meridian X suit is like $600, bibs and a jacket, which on a high school teacher's income, I will tell you, is pretty absurd. However, I will tell you the amount of people or the amount of times that I've been in that gear that I've spent $600 to $1,000 on, it hurts when you buy it. My favorite saying is, especially if you're buying really good rain gear like that, it only hurts once when you buy it. After that, I promise you, you will never regret spending the extra money getting a really quality set of gear, whether that be something like a Gill suit or a Stormer or a Striker or whatever whatever brand you are. Obviously, I'm pretty brand loyal when it comes to my stuff, but I'm not saying that you guys have to buy what I do. But there's never been a time, I can promise you that, if it's just an absolute toad strangler of a rainstorm or it's super cold, I've never once said, "Man, I can't believe I spent $600 on this suit."
Mhm. Yeah, it gets value really quick. I mean, it kind of going into paying for more expensive rods, it's kind of like, do you want to feel comfortable or do you want to have 700 layers on versus do you want to feel comfortable using a rod that's like an ounce or are you comfortable with throwing a big heavy rod all day? It's kind of what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, I get that. And just to kind of reiterate and go back to this topic, and we're kind of doing what we said we weren't going to do, is like kind of elaborate on topics. But hey, we're fleshing this out, figuring out what's going on. But back to the essential gear, I mentioned at the end of my 1 minute there, having a good set of gloves is imperative for me. It's something that I absolutely have to do. And I guess it's just where I'm getting older, not super old. I like to think that, middle age. I'll be 42 here in March. So I'm not super, super old. But my blood is getting thinner. I guess I'm not on blood thinner. So thankfully, luckily don't take many medications for anything medically related. But I don't know if it's probably circulation problems. I'm sure it's years of eating like fried foods and all that other stuff, clogging my arteries up. I'm sure JR can speak more to that than I can, but, my extremities get colder now than they did when I was a kid, or maybe I was just an idiot when I was a kid and I didn't care. But I go out fishing, man, and if it's like 50 degrees or less, I got a pair of gloves in my back pocket, and a couple of those pair of gloves I really, really enjoy. I've just now fallen in love with the Gill waterproof gloves. JR has a pair of those as well. They come up really high on your wrist. They come up like mid of your forearm, which I really like. They're obviously waterproof, so you can dip your hands down in there in the water to get your fish. And the second off, something that I like, just as well, I wish they were a little longer, again, up on the cuff, is a Blackfish Arid gloves, which I now think that Blackfish doesn't make them anymore. I think they're made by the ice fishing company Clam. But those are really good gloves. I would recommend them to anybody. The Gill waterproof glove and the Blackfish, which again I think is made by Clam now, Arid gloves.
Guideware, yeah, I like the guideware stuff too. I use that. That's my primary suit that I use unless it's really cold, and then I put on the striker stuff, which a lot of that striker stuff is really made for ice fishing. That's kind of what I was thinking of too when this topic came up, is that a lot of people are going to answer differently depending upon where they're at. And people up north in Michigan right now, they're ice fishing, so it's one of those, it's all kind of region where you're at. And then heck, I mean, in Florida right now, they're probably starting to spawn.
Yeah, man, I've been seeing a lot of people down in Florida, especially the guys, pre-fishing for the Elite Series coming up soon. Matt Robertson and those guys down there, man, it's so much fun to watch those guys down there in Florida. Which, by the way, guys, I've fallen in love lately with let's see, there is it's Seth Feider's YouTube channel. But there are 3 videos on there for this past year that they're releasing slowly. And, dude, it is freaking awesome because they're fishing places that I got to fish recently, like Champlain, Harris Chain, all that stuff. But, man, it is so much fun to be able to watch those guys before the tournament and stuff, him and Robertson and Corey Johnson. It's just a fun deal. So I would recommend checking that out if you're looking for somebody else to follow on YouTube. All right, Gerald, let's look at topic number 3. And again, if you guys are just now joining us, what this is, what you're seeing on the screen here, I've written a program based on looking at Google Trends for the most searched things on Google based either directly or indirectly with bass fishing. So the very first one, if you missed it, was the Mastering Winter Bass Fishing Top Techniques for December. The next one was Essential Gear for December Bass Fishing, Stay Warm and Catch More. And next Bass fishing tournament highlights, December 2025 recap. An overview of the most exciting bass tournaments held in December. Doesn't really have to be December, featuring standout performances. Doesn't really have to be any kind of, I think we should probably narrow this down, saying that you could talk about the tournament highlights that you have had this past year. So you're up.
So the past year, I mean, if we're just talking about December, there has not been any tournaments that I've been in since December. That's a bit cold for me, but honestly, it was cool making it to the second day of Casting for Kids this year. I really like going to the Tennessee Casting for Kids. I really like going to the Shimano Owners Tournament at Cumberland. I think for me, this past year, 2025, for me was kind of the getting involved with a lot more tournaments. And I was happy with that. I think that was kind of a good goal to have, is just, as being somebody that's relatively new to bass fishing, I still consider myself a novice. It was a good year to get my feet wet and get comfortable in tournaments. I had a lot of fun.
Yep. So this year for tournament recap for me it was one of highs and lows. Won a few tournaments, got to fish with some new people, got the ability to fish with the Marathon Bass League a lot this year. They fish on Thursdays, which was awesome. Allows me to get out for work and go fish with those guys more often than not. Got the opportunity to fish with Pedro a few times. I ended up winning a team tournament by myself, which was a pretty good accomplishment for myself. Kyle and I fished a few tournaments, went to Del Hollow and fished a couple. I think that next year I'm going to be looking at going into some Bass Nations and trying to make the national championship with Bass Nation. I really wish Kentucky Bass Nation was still a thing. They ran an awesome tournament trail. I'm sure if somebody wants to start it up, they could do so. But it was awesome to be able to potentially make it to the Bassmaster Classic from a BASS included deal. So that's my year wrapped in a tournament.
Yeah,
Young Sauce there. I don't know if you saw that. It says, I'm gonna just say, get a pack of cheap rain ponchos. It
was hilarious. I was over there smiling about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. Like, it's anything that you could do to keep warm and dry is definitely better than nothing. I can almost promise you that you're going to be at a point where there's been times in my life that I have, man, like when I was just coming up in the world of the fishing tournament trails. And again, I've been teaching high school for the last 19 years. And I'm not ashamed to tell you this because it's public knowledge. But I started out 19 years ago as a high school teacher making $32,000 a year. And that was me being, new to the profession, which I really didn't plan on being a teacher anyway. But $32,000 now, especially, but then still wasn't that much money. So I went probably the first 5 years of my tournament fishing career having the most basic stuff on the planet. I bought this like $100 Bass Pro rain suit that were pants and a jacket. And I didn't know how much difference having a pants versus bibs would be, but I'm going to tell you, bibs are far superior than pants. Just so much better. But I was telling you, I sat on the front of a boat with Kyle, and it was like 40 degrees during the day. It was absolutely frigid cold, and it rained from the minute we got on the lake until we got off of the lake, and I'm talking about raining. It wasn't just, sprinkling. It was freaking hammering down all day long. And then that rain suit that I had worked well for the first 15 minutes of the tournament. After that, I got absolutely soaked. One of the most miserable times I've ever had in my life fishing ever. And this is what he's talking about there. It's something about having something that keeps you dry. And if it takes that rain poncho to do so, well worth it.
No doubt about it, man. You gotta dress for the occasion.
Yep, Gary, you were, man. I should have had a bigger bag than I had. I can't remember what I had. I had like 14 pounds or something. I'm not sure. Can't really remember. But I should have had a bigger bag than that. I lost a 4.5 to a 5 pounder at the boat. So that should have given me probably close to 19 pounds, I would say. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. Telling you, if you're not throwing a KVD rodent in California crawl that time of year, you are doing yourself a disservice. All right, what's Google have for us here at topic 4 here, JR?
Sure.
Top 5 bass lure fishing lures dominating December 2025. Discover the most effective lures for bass fishing this December as recommended by experts.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this already, but I mean, we talked about the jerkbait. We talked about Silver Buddy. I mean, that's something, honestly, to me, I think I learned more about the Silver Buddy on the Tennessee River than I ever did before. Works like crazy. You're going to catch multiple species, which is fun. Something that's kind of a sleeper too is an underspin. It just kind of all goes in that same pattern. Is there's metal involved in most of these baits, and most of the baits are going to be retrieved pretty slow. So jerk bait, underspin, Silver Buddy, plus or minus the A rig too, of course. Boom.
Plus or minus.
Yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it sucks.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sometimes I suck.
All right. Yeah, we did kind of touch on this a little bit. I think that something that I'll just kind of throw out something I want to try to get better at is going to be a hair jig. I'd like to start throwing a hair jig with forward-facing sonar. My goal here over the next couple weeks, it's supposed to be warm the next week, which sucks. I've been off for 2 weeks and I had to go back to school on Monday, and now it's like 60 degrees every day. It was like 20 when I was off, but I want to learn to catch crappie, and I want to learn to catch crappie that are big enough to eat. Around here, that's few and far between. I ended up catching a couple crappie in a random spot at Grayson the other day I didn't know existed. I'm going to go back this weekend and try to catch some. My goal is to do like a catch, clean cook video I think this is something to add to my channel. Again, I do have some rough goals to get 30% increase in my YouTube following, so I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff like that. But definitely going to be looking at that hair jig. I'm going to stay away from forward-facing sonar if I can.
I feel like I need to just kind of learn how to catch crappie, period, man. I've never really tried, to be honest. Like I've caught them sometimes by accident, and of course you catch them here and there, but like, if you're watching on forward-facing sonar, do you fish it the same way, or a lot of people just kind of jig around them? I don't know. It's a little bit elusive to me.
Yeah, and that's something I'm going to look at. Like, I think you just got to be around them. And I'm going to spend some time this winter down at Cave Run. Carl Hunt sent me a screenshot the other day of a big crappie trail tournament they had down there at Cave Run. Blew my freaking mind. Like, they had 3 fish that were over 3 pounds.
Holy cow.
That's some hammer crappie. And I like to eat crappie. It's one of my favorite fish on the planet to eat. Trying to become a little more healthy than I have been this last, 41 years of my life. I have been to the gym practically every day since the first of the year, and a little bit before that. Been doing some protein shakes and things, and skipping lunch, which I think is a huge deal for me with those protein shakes and things. But I want to, 1, lose some weight, but 2, I want to learn how to catch some crappie. But I kind of think that goes hand in hand, supplementing some of that terrible food that I eat, fried foods and things, with some baked fish and air fried fish like crappie and bluegill, walleye, you name it. I think that's where it's at.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. What just happened here?
You kicked me out.
Good. Dude, what did just happen? There we go. And we're back. He's back. Guess who's back? Back again. All right. So we're getting ready to go to topic 5. It's been pretty good so far, but man, this thing has got to go off the rails soon. We're got to find a topic that's just going to be crazy because it is Google, you know. Technology.
Yeah.
Integrating advanced electronics into your bass fishing setup. Learn how to enhance your fishing experience with the latest sonar and GPS techniques.
Oh boy. Yeah. Have we talked about this enough over the past couple of years, man? I mean, forward facing sonars obviously changed the way that we fish. It is kind of always that fail safe that, man, we can't catch anything the traditional way. Let's go try to catch them by dangling a minnow in front of their nose. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I just upgraded my setup. I bought a 16-inch graph, which was ridiculously expensive. And, thankfully the guys at Malone's, they gave me a good deal on it. They hooked it up for me, did a great job. And I actually have some graphs for sale. If anybody's interested, I pulled off all the Humminbird graphs and 360, and now I'm going to go straight Garmin this year, and hopefully it works out, and I can trust my electronics and catch more fish.
Yeah, so I'll go a little bit of a different route here. A couple of things that I want to get better at this year is I want to be able to find more fish on side scan. I'm very good at finding stumps and rocks and brush piles and rock piles and things that fish would probably be around in side scan. But I want to get better at finding schools of fish on side scan. I told you guys before, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I've only literally saw one big giant school of fish on side scan. And that may be because my settings are not set up correctly and my sensitivity is not right. But I saw a big giant pile of fish down at Lake Fork, and Lake Fork, you could be looking at a 15-pound bass. But I scoped it up, ended up catching it. I actually didn't catch it; I actually snagged it. And it was a giant carp. So when I think about how big that fish had to have been to see it on side scope or side scan, was really crazy. Like, I mean, I'm talking big. It was like a 15-pound carp.
I've definitely seen a lot of, them toothy critters on side imaging, because you can, I mean, obviously the shape of them is they're so elongated and easier to see, especially down in Texas. You'll turn on your side scan, but I agree with that, Tyler. I mean, I feel like I have essentially two screens at the bow or the wheel of my boat, and I've got those two screens, and I feel like I don't effectively utilize those. One, mapping definitely is super important. That's the biggest thing you're doing while you're driving the boat anyway. Two, having a side scan and a down scan, and actually being able to utilize that technology and being more efficient with it. I definitely need to make leaps and bounds, but
yeah. Just a quick note. This is something I wish somebody would have told me 20 years ago when I was looking first into electronics. Spend the money, have somebody set it up and that knows what's going on. Make sure you have enough power going to that unit. Don't use something like a freaking 24 gauge wire to get power to it, because it's going to suck. But above and beyond that, spend the money and put a through hole transducer on one of your units that are at your console. Right now, I don't have one in my boat. I just have the Mega transducer off the back, and it's actually on the bottom of my jack plate. which doesn't come all the way out of the water, but it comes out of the water enough for me to not see the depth anymore. So when you're running around the lake, you just got to go with the mapping that you got to trust the mapping that you have. But if you talk about like Grayson and places like that, that stuff doesn't exist as far as a map cards to show you how deep it is. So, spend the money, get somebody to install a through hole transducer. Now, I'm not saying that should be the only transducer you have. A lot of your Garmin, Humminbird, Lowrance, Graph, stuff like that will have the opportunity to have multiple. You'll still have that mega transducer, the better transducer, but you'll have a through hole true 2D sonar, basically a ping unit that will allow you to keep the depth of the water while you're on pad or on plane, which is a big deal.
Until you go too fast.
Really though, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I feel like if I get, I don't know, maybe mine's not set up perfect, but that's one thing I have thought. Like if I get over like 50 miles per hour, I feel like it just goes blank,
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Influencers.
Bass fishing influencers follows this December.
I mean, Tyler Waller, obviously. I mean, who else is there? To me, I think I follow all the typical people, KVD and your the tactical bassing guys. I mean, to me, I'm sorry, and I know a lot of people are probably not going to agree with me on this. Tactical bassing is the gold standard. They, I don't know who really did it before them. They are so efficient at doing it. They link everything. I just think they do a great job. Yes, the pros are absolutely great at it, but it's like a pro fisherman trying to be a Facebook or YouTube person, whereas the tactical bassing guys, like they wrote the book kind of on what that is. So those guys are the best.
Yep, as I mentioned earlier, definitely go out and check out Seth Fighter. I like his YouTube channel a lot. Somebody that you may not know about, and he's really not a fishing influencer. He's a bait maker. Marling Baits on YouTube. I watch every one of his videos. It's well done. The guy makes awesome baits. He makes crazy baits. Like they're awesome. They're painted really well. He does a really good job of like creating the videos. 90% of them are made in his garage. Low budget still, but he does a really good job setting the camera up and giving a good backstory and shows you like facts of the fish that he's trying to make. Again, I mentioned Seth Fighter. I believe if you're not following Matt Robertson, obviously on him fishing, definitely check him out. He's one of my favorite dudes to follow because he's down to earth, and I feel like that he's like my spirit animal. Like he's exactly where I would be if I was a pro fisherman and could catch him like he does.
Dude, he is hilarious. I mean, he's one of the most entertaining. I mean, him and Seth Fighter together are really, really funny.
Aaron Strickland in the house. What's up, my man? Yeah, so that's pretty good. Now let's see topic number 7. Viral Bass Fishing Challenge, December 2025 edition. I don't really know that must be like AI generated because that doesn't make sense.
Join the latest.
Conservation efforts in bass fishing, December 2025 initiatives. We don't really have to think about initiatives, but how do you plan to attack conservation as a whole next year?
So I just saw Paintsville Lake post something about this, about how they are still taking donations to put Christmas trees in the lake. I think that's really cool. I think Paintsville is ahead of the game because of Jason Kenner and Chris Ferguson and all those guys in that area. To me, I really started last year with, I used to just get pieces of my soft plastics and throw them in the lake after, and now I'm a lot more cognizant of that. And then I feel like I need to kind of take more of an effort in this in general this year. whether it's, education for being healthier, or it is actually going and helping clean up the lake itself. But everybody can do better.
I agree with that. One of the things that I plan to do this year, as far as conservation, is extend the amount of fish that I keep every time I go out. I'm going to keep. I've done a really good job of it this past summer, but I really didn't go fishing where I caught fish in that slot limit or in fish that, if it's above like a 15-inch fish, I normally turn them loose anyway because, it takes a while for them to get that big. But like Grayson at the slot limit, I think the last count that I had that I ate or I gave away like 140 some bass this year out of Grayson. Those are tournaments or fun fishing deals. But when we think about it, 140 fish is a freaking drop in a bucket compared to that. Now, if you get 1,000 people out there taking 140 fish out of summer, it might make a little bit of a difference. But my deal is I want to try to become a better bass angler for the conservation side of things. Like JR said, make sure I throw my soft plastics away, all my line, stuff like that. I also kind of deal with what Jason Kenner said. He always ends his posts on the English for Improving Opportunities page. Leave it better than you found it. I make it a point to find some kind of bait or some kind of fishing line or some kind of trash in the lake that I'm fishing, and I try to take that out of there every time. Topic 9.
Jack's here to add what you need to know: winter bass fishing patterns. What do you think, man?
No idea. I don't even know what that is.
Man, you had the perfect opportunity to just spew some Minecraft knowledge there.
I thought that's what was coming.
What?
Minecraft knowledge or Stranger Things knowledge, something like that.
Don't get it at all.
But it's okay.
We've already talked about winter bass fishing. Best bass fishing spots in the U.S. this December.
Got to go the furthest south you can go, man. I mean, they're catching big ones on Okeechobee right now. People are catching them on frogs. It's a dream. I would love to just go down there and fish in Florida. I guess that's, they're starting up a lot of tournaments right now. A lot of trails are getting started up. Major League Fishing starting here, actually here in, I guess it's a couple weeks still, maybe a week and a half, where they're starting at Gunnersville. And then, I wouldn't sleep on Texas and Louisiana. You could be, going to Sam Rayburn or a lot of those really far south. But I think the answer is go where the water's a little bit warmer than, 32 degrees like it is here now.
Yep, so I agree with you there. I've been fishing Grayson a lot. Up until a week and a half ago, man, it was like frozen out there, which is crazy. Mike French and I were talking the other day. It's usually like mid-February when everything freezes up here where you get hard water where you can't go fishing. We don't actually get an ice fishing season here because, well, I'm really thankful for it, but it doesn't get that cold that often and that long. It doesn't get, thick enough for you to go out and do some ice fishing. But it's just enough to keep you off the lake. Matter of fact, me and JR was running on plane the other day out at Grayson, get past Bruin Creek and get up in there almost to Little Gimlet, and the lake was frozen. I'm sure if you guys follow me on social media, you saw that post. It was pretty crazy. But I've been fishing Grayson a lot. Yatesville's been on fire, man. They caught an 8-pounder out there the other day. That is freaking nuts. It's the biggest fish I think I've ever seen come out of there. 8-pounder. I don't know. Caney Creek is one that you missed down in Louisiana. Definitely somebody you should check out if you're down there. Topic 11. Bass fishing gear innovations. What's new in December? What have you seen new in the last couple weeks, JR?
Gosh, man, I don't know that I've seen any real innovative things. I'm always following what's the newest baits, what's this, what's that. The biggest thing that I have seen in the last few weeks to months is this. I believe the bait company is called like Tornado or something, and they have a clear Alabama rig. Um, I don't know. It seems pretty gimmicky to me. And then there's another Japanese company that has a strolling a rig type deal. Again, I don't know. It seems kind of a gimmick. We'll see if it pans out into anything else or just becomes what the Roland Martin helicopter is now.
The old helicopter lure. Helicopter. Yep. As far as new gear and baits, this is the time of year it's like really weird. If you want to see like really good, cool baits, usually around July when ICAST comes out, that's when normally you see new stuff. Something that I think it's worth mentioning is Shimano's new glide bait rod called the Outlier. It's finally out and you can see it at some places. JR has a 779 medium heavy. There's a 710 heavy. There's a bunch of different ones, but was kind of leery about the cork. It has cork and EVA foam for the handle. It's kind of leery about that, but they've done it in a way that it really, really makes sense. It has a spiral underneath the EVA foam. The handles are really nice. It has that CI4 grip that we've come to love on most of the high-end Shimano stuff, and it is really, really well put together with that in mind for glide baits. Again, it's fairly expensive. They're what, JR, $299, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of, think of it as an X-Pride, but geared more toward swim baits, glide baits, A-rigs, things like that.
Yeah, Tony, what lakes down there? I think you're down by Falls and stuff, right? Jordan and Falls and Sharon Harris. We have a couple of fishing shows coming up. Matter of fact, I will be at the. I'm glad you mentioned that, Tony. I will be at the Spring Valley Tackle Show, not this weekend, but next weekend, the 17th. I have a pile of baits to sell out there. I have a bunch of Firebird buzz baits, a bunch of 1/4 ounce spinner baits, some 1/2 ounce, 3/4 or 3/8 ounce. I have some jigs. I'll be there selling, and then after that, I will be making the trip to the Columbus Expo here. I think it's 1st of February. I think it's actually February 1st, January 31st, February 1st. I think in that area. I'm not going to be up there with anything in mind other than checking it out. I'm going to go up there and check out Jesse with Blue Rock. He's always there. Get stocked up on Blue Rock stuff for this coming year. But I'll be walking around. If you guys are up there in that area and you want to, if you see me walking around or if Jared's there, if you see me, holler at us. Obviously, would love to talk to you, see what's happening there.
That Columbus one brought some big names last year. I know Brian Latimer was there and some other guys. So I would love to go up there and listen to them speak. And actually, speaking of, I almost forgot about this. Ferguson's Outdoors, they're having some huge names coming. That's pretty soon, I think, Tyler.
Let's find. I'll find out here.
Open house. Yeah, 30th and 31st. Shaw Grigsby, Dustin Connell, and Andy Montgomery. I mean, those are huge names. Shaw Grigsby is a staple. I mean, you think about the Florida fishermen fishing a swimming worm. I kind of think of Shaw Grigsby. Dustin Connell, probably arguably the best forward-facing sonar guy, and then Andy Montgomery, the best skipper there is, and there's not really an argument on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Can't wait to get out there. Obviously, no affiliation with those guys, but they have a really good thing going on. Chase Sansom is out there. There's a lot of different things. I think they picked up Ranger this year. They sell Nitro. I think they sell Triton, a bunch of pontoons if you're interested. They always have a swap meet out there with some people selling baits, etc. I normally have to work. Yeah, I ended up buying a couple Type R's out there last year for like $4 a piece.
Uh-huh.
That's where we met. Yeah,
Zaldane.
Zaldane, awesome guy, by the way. All right, let's do 2 more topics. Tournaments, we already talked about that. Oh, bass fishing tips for beginners.
Ooh, beginner in December. That's tough, man. You know, to me, if I could pick one thing for 2 things. I'll pick 2 things. So first, Ned rig. A lot of fish are sitting on the bottom. Fishing the Ned rig really slow, you're going to get some bites. Honestly, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, but when it gets cold, the Ned rig does come to mind. 2, I think about this because I think about putting my dad in the back of my boat not too awful long ago, and giving him a flat-sided crankbait and just beating the bank with it. You're probably going to pick up a few fish. A flat side, that's kind of a better bait profile for fish in the cold weather months. So flat-sided crankbait, chuck and wind, and a Ned rig.
Yep, I agree with that. I think that if this topic is true, what you're saying, if you're trying to become a bass fisherman starting out in December, I would say wait until it warms up.
Yeah.
But just for simple tips and tricks for bass fishermen that want to get into the game and know nothing about it or very little, keep it simple. Use the KISS method. Use a couple of baits that you have some confidence in, which you may not have any confidence in. But I'm going to tell you, if you buy one bait to fish the rest of your life, buy a 3-aught Gamakatsu or Mustad offset shank worm hook with a 3/16 or 1/4 ounce tungsten weight, and throw a Zoom speed crawl in green pumpkin or green pumpkin red flake, and just fish that thing around timber. But look up the Texas rig, and if you have any rig in your boat that's going to catch you the most fish the most often, it is something I have the most confidence in, is going to be Texas rig.
It really probably is the best fishing rig ever created, is the Texas rig. I mean, people ask me that all the time. What do you think is the best bait ever created? And, I always hear spinnerbait, jig. It's hard to beat a Texas rig, man. It probably catches more fish than anything else.
Yeah, we were down at Cumberland, obviously fishing the Shimano News tournament the other day, and Dusty and I were there, and I was like, we couldn't get bit on anything, man. And I'd caught the fire out of fish on a a Spro Little John Type R the day before that. They just would not eat it. They had moved deeper into the water column, which I found out way too late, but I did find out about, noon, and the tournament was over at 3. But started throwing a jig, 3/4 ounce football jig, which was a big profile jig that I pour with a Do It mold. Ended up started catching the fire out of them. And Dusty, that was with me, caught his second bass ever on a jig, and I made him a believer after that. All right, one more topic. We already talked about new bass fishing lures. We talked about technology as well. Well, we talked about influencers, conservation, and that was the very first topic. Yeah.
Oh man, look at this, Mr. Bassin Golf, a man after my own heart, man. Drop shot. I love a drop shot. You can't beat it.
What do you say? It's like a sword pecker. Can't beat it. All right. Yep. So that was pretty cool. I like that. I think I need to refine that program a little bit more this week to where it doesn't do duplicates. And I think I want to expand it not only in bass fishing, I want it to expand it in all fishing, because I want to get to the point where there's going to be topics we have no clue about, and we just kind of ramble what we think would be there. I think it would be a little bit more fun. But again, I think I had a lot more fun this week because we did have some topics that were not just generated by us. Allows us to grab those things. Iron Maiden. But allows us to bring some new topics that are being searched by you guys out there. And it may not be you, but somebody like you has searched it. Again, if you guys are just now joining us, what you guys saw there a second ago was a program that I had written to look at Google Trends and find out what the most searched things about bass fishing in the last week was. Matter of fact, I think I set it to the month, which is why it was all December. I'm going to make it, I don't know. I think it has to be the week prior because it wouldn't. But I think a lot of stuff, especially times this year, maybe I just think I do it for the entire year. That way we get random stuff. That way it's just not all, duplicated. But again, guys, appreciate you guys sticking around for this episode of On Another Line. I'm going to go lay my body gently down. And this is the last time you're going to see the beard. I'm going to trim it all off tomorrow. I feel
I was going to call you LeBron James is what I was going to.
Come on, bro. I don't flop that much. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate it, man. It means a lot. But I had a really big beard at one point. Matter of fact, I cut like 17 inches of it off at one point. But there is you guys probably can't see it on the camera, but I have a wave right here on this side and one on this side. It's like wave. Like I've never let my hair grow out much more than it is right now. My hair may be curly. I don't know. I would look weird with curly hair, but I have this like cowlick / like wave. I feel like if it was white, I would look like Kris Kringle because it would just wave all the way down. But it's just one wave right here and here. And it when it gets longer, it waves and goes straight down, but it just has this little cowlick type deal. I don't know what the deal is, but right now it's at that weird stage where it's just kind of like awkward. It's like, if there's ever anybody in your life that will be honest to you, and it is your mother. My mom told me the other day that my beard looked like crap. So, she's probably right. It's all good. What's up, Elle?
She looks so surprised. Like, how can this
He can see me.
Yeah. Hey, he can see you. He's talking to you.
I'm out.
She's
watching TV.
Yeah.
All right. So again, guys, appreciate you guys sticking around with this episode of On Another Line Live. You guys know what to do. If you can, get out there and lean on them. Here in a couple months, we got Casting for Kids coming up. I think I have to check. I think I qualified for the Marathon Bass Classic, which is there soon, like the week before Casting for Kids. And then you're going to see a lot of really cool stuff. I'm traveling up north to all the way up to North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I'm going to be hitting 9 different states this spring. Matter of fact, right after Memorial Day, I'm hopping in the truck. And as long as the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to go check off 9 more states off of the amount of states that I have caught bass in. And at that point, it's going to start getting more tough because all the other stuff is way spread out. So it's probably going to be less of those things where I actually be able to pull my boat. It's more like just hopping in, throwing my Shimano travel rod in a backpack, hopping on a plane somewhere, going and getting a Airbnb next to some lakes and catching fish within those things. So I'm not really looking forward to that. I also had a very, I guess you would say, disheartening find the other day. When I first started this thing, I'd done a quick Google search to find out if there was black bass species in all 50 states. Because again, what's a point of going somewhere like this, making it happen if it's not available? Google then told me that there were black bass species in all 50 states in the United States. So I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. I assumed that Hawaii would be the one that didn't have it. Well, turns out Hawaii does have black bass species in like inland lakes and higher streams. But as far as I know, Alaska does not have a black bass species. And that is like shot through the heart because I can do 49 of the 50. But I guess I'll wait till 50. I'll catch all 49, go to Alaska and catch like a giant salmon or something, and
Look
eat
for
it on
some
the
dude's pond out there that he puts bass in.
Yeah. Sweet, dude. I didn't know that, Nate. Used to fish the red man in Hawaii. That's awesome. So that should be fairly easy. Dude, that'll be the most expensive bass I've ever caught in my life. Like a $5,000 trip.
Mm-hmm. It's a long way out there.
So you guys need to start watching my videos. Anywho, guys, if you can, get out there and lean on. We'll see you next time on another line. See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of On Another Line Live. We truly appreciate your support, and we couldn't do it without all the amazing folks at home watching week after week. A big thank you goes out to our sponsors, who help make this show possible. Malone's Marine, Borders Sporting Goods, Solar Bat Sunglasses, Picasso Lures, Shimano, and Columbia Sportswear. Their partnership allows us to keep bringing you the content you love. We'll see you next time on Another Line. Until then, get out there and lean on them.